granted, season 4 was only 3 episodes, and it was only there to make sure everybody who had a toy got on screen for at least a few seconds.
Yes.
But a lot of characters, they really put a lot of character behind the voices they were doing, like Ape Face. He sort of sounded Spanish, or he was channeling Strong Bad, and Mind Wipe, he sounded like a vampire. Now, Snapdragon's only got 2 lines, and only one has a word in it. Had this series kept going, is there a specific way you would have done his voice?
I don't remember doing Snapdragon at all, but I was under heavy medication at that time. No, you know what? Here's what would happen. The reason we all did multiple roles is, first of all, for money, because we were allowed to do 3 roles at the same price. So in other words, if you were cast as one character, you were asked to do 2 other roles, either like guard number 1 or guard number 2, or in the case of this show, there were so many new characters coming along all the time. Wally would go, okay, we got somebody called Cruncher. Cruncher, who doesn't have 3? I mean, that's how the casting actually went for this. You know, it was really thought out. Who doesn't have 3? Michael, you don't have 3? Do Crusher. Okay, how would Crusher? Yeah, that's fine. Okay. So to be honest with you, I don't remember even doing Snapdragon. I remember Bumblebee very clearly, and I love Bumblebee. And I remember Outback, because Outback I had a lot to do with him, and he was Australian, and I always liked him. That was fun. But the lesser characters were really just kind of handed out at Wally's discretion. So I don't even know what would have happened with Snapdragon. What kind of vehicle was Snapdragon?
He was a plane, and he was also like a dinosaur or dragon.
I see. Well, I'm confused now. I'm going to go lie down. No. Thanks.
Thank you.
We got about 15 minutes to go, and we're home, and are we still having fun? Yeah. That's great! Yes?
I just wanted to say I was really happy to hear you were coming here because I really enjoyed your panel in 2004 back in Pasadena.
Uh-huh.
So my question was, a lot of the G1 voice actors from the 80s have shared stories about things like the t-shirt that says, I survived a Wally Burr voicing session, or Wally Burr's thing about, give me a level 3, and then everyone having to go, like in the background.
Yeah.
I'll be that guy. Can you share a Wally Burr story?
Yes, I can. I'm going to have to ask anyone under 13 to leave the room at this time. No, I love Wally. Wally was an incredible perfectionist, and I know you've heard this again and again from the cast members. He would do take after take after take until he got exactly what he heard in his head. And he would not go on until. And these sessions, now bear in mind, an animated series, after the opening and closing credits and the commercials are extracted, is like 22 minutes. We would spend 8 hours doing 22 minutes worth of animation, plus a lot of it was action. It wasn't even dialogue. So the actors were beaten to a bloody pulp with this show because there was so much fighting and so much running and so much jumping and hitting and it was absolutely exhausting, especially for people like Peter, who are working way down in here. I mean, I'm surprised he has any voice left after that. So what happened was Frank Welker, once again, the inimitable Frank Welker. Frank does the greatest cricket. Frank, you could stand next to Frank and he'd do his cricket, you'd swear that there was a cricket in the room. I mean, it was unbelievably great. Well, Frank was doing 2 of his characters. I can't remember which 2. Name 2 characters Frank did. Well, Megatron. Okay, Soundwave and Megatron, right? So Soundwave and Megatron are talking together, right? So he's talking as Soundwave and Megatron. And Wally goes, and so we're in the middle of the thing, and somebody's talking here, and then Frank says something here as Soundwave, and something here as Megatron, and Wally goes, oh, cut. We had some overlap there at the end. You can't overlap yourself. I mean, Frank's good, but he ain't that good. There's a Wally story. Wally threw a bottle at me. Did I mention that? I hope they leave that on the DVD.
Well, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Hi, I guess my question is, I've heard recently that you have a bit of a history with our guest last year, Greg Berger. And I was just wondering if you could talk about sort of the relationship that you had with the cast outside of the recordings and, whether or not you still talk with any of them and how that sort of has gone.
Greg owes me $38. And if he comes back, would you please remind him of that? Any of you who are here. Greg and I did. We went to school together. He and I went to college, Webster University in St. Louis, Missouri. He was one class behind me. And it's really weird that we both ended up in the same, in the same situation. I still see, I talked to Michael Bell just last week. Michael was instrumental in putting together the reunion of the cast for the DVD. So Michael I see frequently. I see Greg all the time because he's still working. John Stevenson, who, Thundercracker? Yeah, I love John, who was Mr. Slate, of course, in the Flintstones. John and I were with the same agency, so I see him all the time, and he's still well. I mean, John's been in this business forever. He's doing great. Who else? Peter, the last time I saw Peter was at a convention, but he's still short. He's incredibly small. He's short. And I say that wherever I go, and I challenge him. Peter, so go ahead. But it's amazing that voice comes out of that little man. He's going to kill me one of these days. He's going to hurt me. Who else in the cast have I seen recently? Everybody who hasn't passed away is actually still pretty much in the business. Yeah.